Okay, let's get into this deep dive. Today, we're looking at a concept from the philosophy of the divine law, something we actually touched on before.
Right, and it comes up often in Adam Ripley's work over Practicing Truth.
Exactly. And the idea is, well, it's pretty challenging, especially compared to how most people think about making things right. We're talking about the absence of forgiveness.
And straight away, that phrase, absence of forgiveness, it sounds kind of harsh, doesn't it? Maybe even a bit cold.
It does. But the source frames it really differently, not as missing something, but as, well, positive somehow.
Yeah, that's the twist. It's presented as being honest and, get this, an invitation to the maturity of accepting responsibility.
Honest. Mature. It's quite a claim. So our mission here is to unpack why this philosophy deliberately leaves out forgiveness and why that's actually seen as a good thing within its framework.
Okay, so let's start with how it views truth versus, say, a traditional idea of God. The source makes it clear. Truth isn't some kind of personified deity who grants pardons. It's not swayed by remorse or repentance,
So not a judge you can appeal to.
Exactly. Think of truth more like a mirror. It just reveals what happened. It doesn't erase it. There's no, cosmic bookkeeper wiping slates clean.
Okay, so if truth just shows what is and doesn't offer that clean slate like forgiveness might, what happens when we mess up, when we cause harm?
That's the core question, isn't it? And that's where responsibility comes in really heavily.
Responsibility, not absolution.
Precisely. The philosophy argues that when harm's done, what's needed isn't a cancellation of consequence. It's not about getting a divine release from moral debt.
So what is needed then?
It's about the acceptance of personal responsibility, facing the truth of your actions, and, crucially, their actual impact in the world.
But I can hear people thinking, well, that sounds kind of unforgiving. Where's the compassion in that?
That's a really important clarification, and the source addresses it. Compassion isn't gone, it's just defined differently.
How so?
It's not something granted to you from outside. It's more about recognizing that we all have the capacity to make mistakes. We all stumble.
Okay.
And from realizing that shared vulnerability comes the decision to live with care moving forward. It's driven by understanding the harm you caused, not by feeling pardoned.
Okay. So the compassion is in recognizing shared fallibility, and that fuels a change in behavior based on impact awareness.
You got it. And to actually move things forward after harm, the source points squarely to accountability and recompense.
Making amends, basically. Tangible stuff.
Yes, tangible actions to address the harm where possible. That's what drives progress here, not waiting for or relying on grace.
That really does shift the focus, doesn't it? It puts it all on what you do now and next, rather than wishing the past could be undone.
Absolutely. The idea is to live fully aware of the consequences of our transgressions.
Yeah.
And because you're aware, you choose differently now, being conscious of our actions in the present.
So how does healing work then, in this shared reality, if there's no divine fix?
Well, healing is definitely possible, but it's grounded. It's grounded in action and real change. The source talks about healing through accountability, remedy, and demonstrable change.
Demonstrable change. So showing you've changed, not just saying it.
Exactly. Addressing the harm, fixing what can be fixed, alleviating suffering, and showing through your actions that things are different. And it explicitly says this healing is not through divine intervention. You build it.
It feels very symmetrical, this view. If there's no divine forgiveness, does that also mean no divine condemnation?
Spot on. That's the other side of it. Truth doesn't condemn any more than it pardons. Consequences happen, they're personal, they play out in reality. Responsibility, then, is found in practice, not in belief.
And in impact, that keeps coming up.
Yes, the actual effect of what you do. That's where the focus lies.
Which loops us back to that core difference they draw, forgiveness versus responsibility.
Right. And the source puts it quite simply, forgiveness requires belief. It often depends on faith, a feeling, something subjective.
But responsibility?
Responsibility, it says, aligns with the truth. It lines up with the objective reality of cause and effect, actions, and their consequences.
Wow. That perspective really does push against a lot of common ideas about guilt and consequences and redemption. It takes away the external out, doesn't it?
It does. It places the power and maybe the burden squarely on the individual and what they do in the real world.
So the provocative thought to leave people with might be, what if consequences aren't mistakes to be erased?
Right. What if they're actually the foundation, the very ground you need to stand on to build real healing and change through taking direct conscious responsibility?
Definitely something to chew on. And if you want to explore the divine law or the philosophy of the divine law further, the place to go is beyondtherituals.com.